All right, yo, I am super lit because I was hanging out in Yag Discord chat with Badger and Dinosaur and all them.
Oh
I
dang!
was waiting for you.
What were all you degenerates doing over there talking about?
Hanging out, smoking. They were actually giving me advice on how to rehydrate my cannabis before I press it into rosin.
Oh, okay, okay, all right. Yeah, no, I know Dinosaur. He's always posting over there on Discord. He's got some pretty good looking rosin that he's always
Right?
cranking out of that place, man. He knows a thing or two around that press.
Well, the one thing that's been concerning me is that over the past week or so, or couple weeks, I've been getting better at pressing rosin.
Okay.
And you guys, as you know, at the temperature that you're at, I see you guys getting like very liquidy rosin. And I started off pressing at 205 degrees, and now I'm down to the point where I can get 185.
Okay.
Because
So
every
I
time
think
I would try to lower the temperature, I would lose yield. And then
yeah,
it was like, all right, I'm obviously not good enough at pressing yet where I can lower the temperature.
it's a bunch of variables, right? I mean, so when you're looking at what kind of yield or what you're getting out of your press, it's more than just one thing, right? I mean, we're kind of finding that out. There's so many different variables.
Well, my thing is like even when I lowered the temperature, so I've lowered it by 20 degrees at this point, and it's still coming out like not even like Play-Doh, it's coming out like kinetic sand
Yeah, yeah.
consistency,
I've gotten some of
like
that
wet
as
sand.
well. And that could be that consistency that you're getting could be also from your bud, right? That could be one of those variables. Maybe the moisture content inside your bud is playing part in that. Could be how the heads on the actual bud, right, that we're trying to extract. It could be what the consistency of those are. So I think that definitely is playing some of the role. Plus, comparing us because we do trade rosin back and forth, right? You use a dryer for yours. I hang dry mine, right? So I
True.
tend to notice some of my bud tends to be a little bit wetter than the bud I get from you. So I think that also plays a variable in there as well.
Plus, I like run the central air in my house year round. I just have like
Gotcha.
the thermostat set, so our
Yeah.
house is always dry, like very
Okay.
dry
Yeah.
inside.
See, and then there you go. Difference with me. I don't have central air here. So my if I was to look at what the humidity is in the house right now, it's probably through the freaking roof. We've got these AC units and the windows running, and they seem like they just never stop.
Oh yeah, I got like nosebleeds right now because it's so dry in my house.
Oh, no
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah,
Darn. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Nope.
pretty bad. So yeah, like rehydrating. What Dinosaur had told me was, well, I think Badger had said put leaves from your plant into the
Yeah.
bag, and then Dinosaur even made the equivalent argument of like the way you would put a piece of bread into cookies, just
Hmm.
keep them from drying out, doing a
Yeah.
similar thing.
Absolutely.
So I may
No,
try that for my next press.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think that that's definitely worth a try. I have heard that before. I've never tried it, so I can't speak for it. But even like from inside that video that we just did, the rosin press video, right?
That's what I was gonna
Um,
bring up.
so the one of the tools that I use for knowing when I should be pulling my buds or the moisture content that I know that I like for either joints or say for rosin, using that wood moisture meter really does help, man. And like
That's
I
what they
said,
were saying as well.
I have two. So this one that I've got right here, when I see you Sunday, this one's got your name on it. So
Oh, awesome.
you can play around with it. Try different days, different times while you have your bud inside that dryer, and you could really dial it in and say, okay, I know that you can pull it just before it gets maybe a little too dry, and maybe that'll improve your yields.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed about the drying machine. It seems to over dry it. Because now that I've traded bud with a lot of people, their stuff is always way, way stickier than mine. I feel like mine, you like touch it and it turns into powder kind of
I
thing.
mean, and I think a lot of the stuff, at least the stuff that I've gotten from you, is usually right when you've harvested it, and I think some of that moisture does come back inside those jars. Or what do you like to store your bud in? So you dry it, and then what are you doing for long term care, like storage?
All right. So normally my normal harvesting process is I will cut all of the branches off of the tree,
Okay,
and then I will do like half wet trim. So I'll take just the big leaves off that you would like pluck off by hand anyways, but I leave
sure.
all the little tiny sugar leaves and everything.
Okay.
And then I put it in the drying machine, and then when I take it out, that's when I either use your trim bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking love that thing. So ever since I made that video, where I like compared my hand trimming to the trim bag, like
Yeah.
I'm not that good at trimming, but it was just as good as what I was doing by hand. So I
Sure.
usually do that, and then I just throw it in the growth bags,
Okay.
and then they
Okay.
go in. I have all these bins of growth
Yeah.
bags.
Yeah. No, perfect. Now, do you have any I always screw the word up. It's either humidistat or whatever those little tiny where it shows the humidity and your temperature on there. Do you have any of those?
Nope, I have
No.
nothing to measure humidity outside of the probe in my tent, which is
Okay.
only for growing.
I think I have a couple laying around. I'll bring you those as well, and I'd be interested to see what the herbs now, because you're following their protocol, right? Of what they say you're supposed to run it for a certain amount of days and then you pull it out, or how are you telling that it's done?
Okay, so the machine I believe sets for like 96 hours or 94 hours by default.
Okay.
And then whenever it's done, it's done. I've actually pulled stuff before the timer goes off, but I usually check it like every 12 hours or so, and then I'll like rotate them because since it's like a bottom up
Yeah,
air
yeah.
system, they'll actually get flat on one side, and then you
Okay.
flip them.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Um, so you do that, and then usually I check to see if I bend the stems.
Sure.
So when I put them in, I leave a bunch of the stems really long,
Okay.
and then I like bend
Do a
one
snap
every
test. Yeah.
12 hours. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But that's
Yeah.
about it. I have no actual like empirical way of doing it.
Gotcha. Well, we will now. So you'll have to see. You'll have to try this with your next harvest,
That would
and
be
then
perfect.
and another tool to make your life just easier, man. That's what it's all about. What are you
Yeah.
smoking on, or what are you about to be smoking on?
This is like all the little crumblies I had left from when I pressed Wizard Stash Remix
Oh hell
earlier
yeah,
today.
nice.
Which here I'll show you the difference between 205 and 185.
Definitely getting some. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you. I mean, you definitely those higher temperatures are definitely going to melt all that stuff, and you're going to get more yield. But you're, as you can see, it cooks it off a little bit.
So yeah, you made that rosin press video, and even though, all right, so you sent me like 47 minutes of footage. I ended up being like 30 something minutes of footage after I edited it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it took me like 5 hours to edit that video. So in that 5 hours, I was literally learning how to press rosin better, even though I was
That's
just doing video editing, right? So
that's awesome.
after I finished editing the video and I posted it, I was like, all right, I have to go press rosin now. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Did
but I
I
got,
learn anything?
yeah, exactly. So I actually got my two best presses of all time after editing that video.
Now, what would you say? What do you think is the difference? I mean, because we've personally talked back and forth quite a bit trying to figure it out. What do you
Yep.
feel is that what you saw in the video and then what you put into practice? What do you think made the difference?
Well, one thing is I got a pre-press form.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go. So that helps. And then the other thing is I wasn't fully comprehending for bottle tech how to tuck the corners underneath.
Okay. Yeah. It's
So I
a
was doing this thing where like instead of tucking, so like the triangles of the corners, you put them like right underneath the puck.
yep.
What I was doing is I was putting them up the sides, so they were
Okay.
like this, like kind of cupped around it.
Sure.
So that was another thing. You still gotta show me how to fucking origami the parchment paper.
Yeah. You know that was one thing, man. I always had a hard time until I actually I went to a hash class and then a hash rosin class that the soil makers put together. They have a couple different classes that they actually do over at their facility that they have, and I learned how to do it from them. So shout out to the soil makers for showing me how to do that.
Another thing that was surprisingly effective was I went and got a magnet off the fridge and I actually put the parchment paper up top
Yeah,
because I didn't realize that like the top of the parchment paper being even is what keeps it from like flowing down.
yeah. So it's just getting just that little bit of extra friction when it's starting to come out. It's slowing it down. So yeah, having that paper up top definitely does help.
So I haven't got like a bead run down yet, but I've got pretty close.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to remember that that's that was 14 grams that I was pressing. So
Yeah,
that's it. That's going to be the difference between you're literally pressing half of that, right? Or are you pressing 7 grams?
a
How much are you
third.
pressing? Okay, yeah.
I
So
press I press five
okay, yeah. So
and I get what my last two yields were 14% and 16%
that's great, dude.
after
Absolutely
editing that
great.
video. So that's good.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I'm glad that that was able to help you. I'm glad that we finally figured it out, and now you're getting some good yields. 'Cause I know it was really bumming you out. You weren't getting what you were looking for, and you're like, "What the hell am I doing wrong?" And now you
Yeah.
got it, man.
So actually last episode that you and I did together, I
Yeah.
was in the middle of cooking vapes
Okay.
and those came out like so all right, so far my wife says they're good,
Yeah.
but it was a pain in the ass filling them.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, so as soon as I took them out of the machine, the sous vide machine, I sucked it up into the syringe, and by the time I went to go put it into the vape, it was like already like honey consistency again.
Oh, no kidding.
So I was actually only able to fill half of the vapes I bought because it eventually got to a point where I couldn't even suck it into the syringe anymore.
Now, do you think that was something with the cooking time, or do you think that was something with the consistency of the rosin that you were using?
Yeah, so I think it was the consistency, especially since I was using like seven different types of your rosin and then like two or three types of mine.
Yeah, it was just that
So
you had the kitchen sink, so it was
yeah,
whatever.
it's a little bit of everything. But I think now that I can press better, I can press a whole batch of just
Yeah.
one plant and
Yeah.
then get it down.
Well, now, and I know that was one of the things too is, when you were with your growing, you only have so much, right? Because you can only grow 4 plants at a time. So when you're having
Yeah.
to keep up with your consumption and you're doing it for your wife, and I think you said that you do it for some close family.
Yeah.
It's hard when you have that small plant count, and then if you're going through all that with growing the plant, and then you get that plant material. Now you're at the end and you're squishing it, and you're not doing it quite to its full potential. Then you're losing some, and then that hurts even more. So now that you at least got the rosin press down, you're going to be that better ahead. That you're the 4 plants may be enough for y'all.
Yeah, and also having plants grow bigger now
Yeah.
because over the course of my last run, my plants have doubled in size, which is really good.
So
I've also had an issue with it's not an issue, but exactly like what you said was the amount I can learn each run is
mhm.
based on how much extra cannabis I have to play with.
Sure,
So
absolutely,
now that I'm having more to play around with, I'm harnessing my skills more, but harnessing my skills allows me to be more efficient. So it all
absolutely.
like circles back around, and then I have a more manageable amount.
Yeah, no, I mean, even in the what is it, 11 months that you've been growing now?
Yeah.
If you were to go back to what you were first doing, I mean, it's changed quite. Like what you had in your mind and what you were putting forth is definitely a lot different now. Yeah, it's completely different, right?
Yeah. So I started off in 5 gallon pots, top watering,
Yeah,
Fox Farm, Trio Newts, and
yeah.
Ocean Forest.
So
And
and that's
then
that's only 3 grows ago, or is that 4?
that's probably like Bye. I mean, I'm
They're
growing
fine.
autoflowers, so
Oh yeah, true, true. Yeah,
uh
yeah,
yeah, so and then now I'm doing for what the base soil is, I like don't even care what the base soil is. Like I'll even just go to like Home Depot as long as it's organic, I'll just
sure.
throw it in and then I'll amend it myself. But I'm over to completely organic. I'm just doing craft blend and build a flower right now.
Yep.
But I also have for my outdoor garden, I have a 5 gallon bucket of JLF going, and then for my indoor garden, I have a 1 bucket of JLF going.
Sweet. So you're taking your plant material from the indoor garden and then you're making that to a JLF. And when do you think that's going to be ready to use? That can be ready next round, or
I started it 17 hours ago. So
it's going to be a little bit. Okay, all right, but that'll be
not
cool,
so
man.
I always had plans to, but I kind of needed like validation. Whereas like I really don't want to screw around with my cannabis grow that much. Where
Sure.
like so I'm willing to try JLF and IMO and all that. And like it's not even trying it to see if it's good or not. It's just going through the growing pains of failing, learning how to do it.
Right, right. Yeah,
Where
no, and
I
that's
can afford
definitely
to do that with my vegetable garden because I can
right.
always go buy tomatoes. Buying cannabis a bit different.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. That's been one of the things where I've been messing around with it for a while. You could even try doing like a the fruiting ones, right? So like the um shoot, drawing a blank now. The like the the KNF ferments and stuff like that. I've been using those in the garden for probably a few runs now. And that's good to kind of get your feet wet in it, right? Gives you a little bit of confidence because you still relying on the craft blend and you still have your build a flower, but you could dabble in throwing a little ferments here and there so you get a little bit of that confidence. But yeah, that's the reason why I haven't gone any more down the hole down in my room running JLF or anything because I'm afraid as well because I don't want to screw things up and then throw things out of balance.
Yeah, I read that whole Rebel gardening book.
Yeah.
So like I learned the basics of how to do all the different ferments and everything. I have the worm bed ready. I just don't have any
Yes.
worms right now.
Yes.
And
Again,
then I do
that's
have
you better remind me, dude, because I will forget again. I will bring those out to you.
just take some of Johnny's. Don't
I know,
even
right?
transport them up the
Yeah.
shit. Speaking of, you saw Yag was on CC this week.
Yeah, man, that was great. I well, appreciate those boys giving us a shout out there. So that was really cool to see them on there. They're a great group of guys and gal.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a podcast with Rev sometime. I feel like him and I could play off each other. He was so funny on that episode.
Yeah, no, he's great, man. He's a cool cat. I'm excited. Actually, September I'll be flying out there. He's putting me up for the Alabrije drop. I'll be going out to join them. So I look forward to that. That'll be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I wish I could go. I don't actually I have like inner ear problems and like the
Oh
pressure
shit.
from flying on a plane just fucks me
Just
up really bad.
no kidding. When was the last time
Yep.
you were on a plane?
It was a handful of years ago when I got home. I went on steroids for like a month and then
Yeah.
eventually I went to an ear doctor and he's like, I'm just gonna pop your eardrum.
Oh,
And then
gnarly.
he took a knife and he just like poked a hole in it and then it relieved all the pressure.
Oh shit.
So I'm like, all right, I don't really fuck with planes anymore. But
Yeah. Hey, no, I hear you. I wouldn't fuck with it either.
yeah, so I try to stay away from that. I actually started taking Flonase every day, which I guess helps.
Hey,
I know
it
makes
helps.
great podcasting material.
Yes, I'm sure they're all they want to know what the nerd is shoving up his nose.
Yeah, right. That's about the only thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so since I saw you measuring your rosin in that video,
Mhm.
as you know, my scale only goes the whole numbers.
Yeah.
So I've had a issue with being able to only measure the whole numbers for the whole time I've been growing. So I actually went to the head shop today and I picked up a scale. And
Okay.
so I walk in and the guy is like, hey, what can I help you with? And I was like, oh, can you show me scales, please? And
Yeah.
then he was like, all right, here's a whole row of them. And then he didn't say anything else. So I'm like looking at them and like it doesn't say anything on any of the boxes. So I'm I'm just trying
Oh
to read.
no.
I'm like I'm pretending just to be like socially adequate, pretending to read what's on these boxes, but there's nothing on these boxes. So finally, I saw one that had a bunch of cartoon characters on it, and I literally just looked at him. I said, "Can I have the one with the cartoon characters, please?"
I like the pictures, sir. Can I have this one?
Yeah, exactly. The rest of them were just like scale, 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 weird bunny rabbit, scale, scale. And I was like, all right,
Well,
like,
we know what kind of marketing gets you.
yeah, right. So it's actually kind of cool. So when I got home, I opened it up and it looks like it's a jewel case for a CD.
That's cool, man.
And so you open it up and there's a scale, and you can actually take the album cover out and put any album cover you want in it.
There you
But
go.
you can just slide it in with your CDs, which who has CDs? But
Yeah, right. That's awesome, man.
I've actually had bad luck in the past with novelty scales because I bought one off of either like Wish or Temu
I
that
remember that.
is supposed to look like a key fob for your car, but it
Yeah.
was like this big.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you telling me about that, dude. You're like, dude, it came in, and you're like, it's not what I thought it was. I
No.
was like, what do you mean? He's like, it's a fucking key.
Yeah, you literally have to put like a crumb on it at a time to weigh it. It can weigh zero point 0.0 to zero point 0.1, and that's it basically.
Oh no.
So the other thing I bought at the head shop, just because I was curious, and it was another thing I wanted to talk about this week.
Yeah,
So whenever I trade with you or any of the other people that we trade our harvest with,
yeah,
I'm always using Ziploc bags, and I always have to like take duct tape and write the name of the strain and stick it to the bag and it wipes off and blah blah blah.
yep.
So they had this huge like it was like a big like underwear bin
Okay.
that you would see at a store, but it was just filled with all of these like weed dealer bags, right?
Yeah.
So I
I
was
love
like,
that you call it weed dealer bags.
I don't know what to call them because they're technically not grove bags, right? Because I don't think that they're like humidity locked or anything.
Gotcha, gotcha. Just little step up from Ziploc bags.
Yeah, so I figured like I could buy a bunch of these and then my wife won't be like, "Hey, I can't make our son's lunch because there's no Ziploc bags anymore."
Quit giving your drugs out in my sandwich
Yeah.
bags. They're
You
for
gave
your son.
Grateful 8 different strains last week and now he can't have dry Cheerios in his lunch. Shit.
It's something I'm willing to sacrifice.
But here's something I wanted to talk about is I really don't like mainstream cannabis culture at all. I
I
think it's
hear that.
super dumb and like very flashy and for no reason.
Yeah, I would
That
agree.
said, I want to show you the bags that I bought.
Oh no.
All right, so the whole time I'm looking through this bin of bags and I'm like, these are so fucking dumb. These are so fucking dumb.
Oh no.
Every single one. Because I'll pick it up and it's like they'll have like the name of the strain on the bag, and I'm like, why would you buy those unless you know or you're trying to deceive someone into thinking it's like dispensary weed or something? So like
Yeah.
that's kind of scummy. But it's just like, oh, Rick and Morty OG Kush, and you're
Oh
like
no.
what the fuck? So, anyways, I did end up buying two of them, and I figured I could just use them around the house for whenever I'm trading with people. All right,
There you
so the
go.
first one is Alice in Wonderland, Feed Your Head with the caterpillar hookah scene
Nice.
on it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it doesn't have like a strain name or a brand name on it or anything else. Like even
Yeah.
like look at these like jars I bought. They say backwoods and runts and cookies on them, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
like everything I can buy around me is like very heavily branded. I'm like, I don't want that shit.
it's what the main consumers of cannabis and what the market kind of goes to, it seems, is all those flashy things. Is what can we grab by putting a name on it? It's like a lot of
Yeah,
stuff though.
right. And that kind of plays into the second bag I bought, which is this. It's a gorilla with blue hair.
That's
So it's
great.
obviously supposed to be like Gorilla Glue or GG4
Yeah,
kind of thing. He's got like a tropical sunset in his sunglasses,
I'd be even afraid to use them. Just like put them up somewhere. They're little pieces of art.
right? I should save one and like frame them. But they had like 80 different kinds, like
Oh no,
pictures of
kidding.
those over there.
Wow.
And these were like the two least shitty ones. Actually, there was one that was it was like Krusty the Clown pulling his own face skin off and his
Oh
skull
shit.
behind it. I was like, that one was kind of cool. I almost got that one.
Yeah, man, that is kind of cool. I could see if it was like had like the cookies brand and like all those strain names, I'd definitely stay away from that. But those actually look pretty cool.
Even like just my regular ass nectar collector came
Yeah,
with a Nightmare Before Christmas and a Rick and Morty little dab trays.
that's great. Yeah, man.
It's
It
like,
seems like a Rick and Morty I see everywhere with any type of cannabis paraphernalia, if you will.
yeah. Yeah, even at the gas station by my house, they have Rick and Morty bongs and stuff.
Yeah,
And it's
man. It's
always the shittiest looking art on it.
yeah, no, it's terrible.
They're like, this is the one cartoon that won't sue us for copyright.
Yeah,
So I
that's
will say
great.
the gas station by my house, I've been looking at this for like 6 months, but they have a bowl that you can buy and it's a giant watermelon slice. It's like this
Really?
big. Yeah.
Oh man, you gotta get a picture of it next time you go by. If you don't buy
See
it,
like
because
see like hit the tip of the red part and then you pack like the rind.
that's great. That's cool. I always like those little pieces. One of the things that steers me away from getting a lot of stuff like that is I'm clumsy as hell.
Yep.
So I spend the money on it and then it's like broken in a week, and I'm like, why the fuck do I keep buying this shit? It's just gonna.
Right. It was like maybe like 10 years ago at it was actually the same head shop I went to today, but back 10 years ago it was a different head shop.
Oh, okay, okay, that's
So I
great.
went there and I got this 2 foot bong that had it had like a spiked ball in the bottom connected to the down stem, so that way
Okay, so like
it would
all
like
the smoke comes.
percolate from
Yeah,
each little spike on it.
that's pretty cool.
And I had bought a dumpster to clean out my garage and I was smoking in the garage. And then I was moving
Oh,
a couch and just dropped the couch right on it.
yeah, yep. And that's why I went to this bad boy right here, man. All metal. I don't have to worry
Yep.
about breaking this thing, man. I forget to take it outside, drop it in thing. It's it. It's my last bong I'll ever buy.
In college I used to smoke with my friend's dad and he actually had someone had just drilled a hole into a beaker and they made a little
Dang,
wooden frame for it to sit on. We used to
that's
smoke out of
awesome.
that. I
Hey,
used to they live like 2 blocks over, so I used to ride my bike over, smoke with him,
that's awesome.
watch cartoons, and then ride back home.
That's great.
Uh,
I love
what's
that ingenuity.
I know, right? What's going on in your grow right now?
Well, I think we're at like with the 91 grapefruit, I think we're at like I think we may have just hit day 20. Let's see. I know let's see, day 22, yeah. So a few days ago, I did the that top dress where I just put some worm castings and then some fungal compost from the
Yeah.
soil makers and put the cover over top, and we're tucking them in now for the long haul. So it's pretty much just cruise control from here. I today I actually just put a half a gallon down the tube of all the earth boxes because those plants are starting to grow big enough, I think. So we're
Yeah.
starting that. We've got on the smaller area, I've got let's see, let me see. I've got mystery mezcla on that little tiny dude. I'm not looking forward to the headache that it's going to be because it is literally that little crate. It's about this big by probably like 2 or 3 inches tall. And it's probably going
The
to be
like milk crate.
yeah. So it's like a little ceramic milk crate. I got it. It was at
Yeah.
it was
I
like
meant to ask you where you got that.
yeah. It was from Kohl's. It was one of those like they have one of those little islands that has all the stuff like 50% off or whatever, and there was like two of
Yeah.
them, and I'm kicking myself for not getting another one because it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
So,
those are
but
really cool.
I've got that one going. I've got Red Kong from Hummingbird Hills in a little tiny pot there. I'm excited for that. He's always got good stuff. I've never been disappointed. All of my two skull planters, I've got Broken Leg by BGG. So and those are regs. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
anticipating one of them will come up as a male. But I think they're lined up where if this works well enough, Red Kong, and all of those maybe a little bit early, but they're going to end up getting pollinated with the 91 grapefruit anyway. So I'll have some a few to screw around with some more
Bunch of
seeds.
random crosses.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun to just see what happens, man. And I've got the photo to auto by BGG, the number 2 at day 11. So that one we've got again 2 regs. So we've got 2 and 1 gallon. So we'll see what happens with those. I've got one of the mandala effects at day 15 in a 1 gallon. That's one that Rev sent me. So we've got that one going. He was gracious enough to contribute to the project. So thanks, dude. And then let's see what else. The drowsy Labaka I've got in my that little ceramic pot that I got from the last Alabrije drop. That's day
Yeah.
35. And it's actually kind of cool. I have to get a couple better pictures of it, but I'm trying to train the plant actually around the plant marker. So it's
Oh, that's
almost
cool.
there. I think in the next couple of weeks, I'll have it completely wrapped around. So we've got that. I've got the Induus too. That one's going. That's day 35, and that's in that little tiny planter that Nama made.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
Chem Labrata. I've got 2 of those in that New Moon gallon and a half. That thing has surprised me, dude. I'll be honest with you. That I've grown. Actually, the Wizard Stash Remix was the last plant that I grew in that, and I was really surprised with it. And this one has blown that. It's bigger than that one was. So it's there's something about that I found with those smaller containers and using those blue mats. They are awesome, man. Like just I'm not relying on it completely. I could if I wanted to, but I do a little bit of goodies every other day. So like either like a ferment or something like that. But dude, those blue mats are crushing it in those smaller containers. I mean, the half gallon that I've got the frogception in, that plant is huge. It's
And
huge.
just to confirm, they aren't blue and they aren't mattes.
They are not, unfortunately. No, I hate to break it to you, but they're terracotta. That they're they are not anywhere near blue. So
I
um,
know. I've like never heard of them up until a couple weeks ago, and now I feel like everybody's talking about them, and I was just like, "What are these things?"
yeah, man, they've been around for quite some time. They work really really awesome. I mean, there's some I don't know exactly what the science is behind it, but basically that the carrot is ceramic or like like terracotta pots. It's that same kind of color, and you soak them for say 10 minutes or so, and then I guess it holds that moisture, and then it's got like a tube that comes from it that you can put inside a little reservoir. And I guess as the soil dries, the carrot will actually allow the moisture to come out, and it
Okay.
basically just creates a siphon um, from the reservoir. And I guess there's certain ones where you can actually adjust it with how much water it lets out. The ones I have are just the simple cheapo ones. I think it's got a certain gallon per minute or whatever it does. But
Okay.
definitely worth getting. Uh,
Yeah.
I, I enjoy them. But other than that, it's I got more BGG and more Alabrije. What a
Yep.
surprise! That's pretty much
That's
all
what
my
I'm doing.
garden. Yeah, how's your garden going? I know we just heard we just had your podcast, but give us a little garden update too.
So, I mean, I guess a little bit's happened since I recorded the podcast. I did give up on the Indios Verde
Oh
seed that I
no.
had planted. I literally just planted another one. That's all I did. But
Okay.
today I actually took I took my time with watering today. I actually so I'm at the point where three of my four city pickers are seedlings.
Okay.
So I'm not ready to put the cover on yet. The Drowsy Lobaka is getting very close to me putting the cover on,
What
but
day is
with
that
the
at?
I think it's like 10-ish.
Okay.
It's like this big.
Yeah.
But the it dries out so fast when you don't have the cover on, right?
Yeah.
So today I actually took my time and like deeply watered all three of them, and then I planted another seed.
Okay. All right. So now when you're planting those, you'll soak the earth box, the city picker, you'll just soak that down and then you're just planting seed right in there and letting her rip and then just kind of keeping an eye on it.
So I usually, yeah, I soak the whole thing and then I plant the seed and then I put a clear solo cup over it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And then I usually just try to for the first couple days, I just keep around the cup wet.
Yeah.
And then once it pops, then I'll like re-soak the whole thing and
Okay.
then keep maintaining it from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And then once it gets maybe like second set, then I'll put the cover on.
It's funny, talking about this, and it just brings me back. So there was, it was a few weeks ago now, maybe a month. I was over at Johnny's, Johnny Apple, and we were just bullshitting, and he's going around, and he's got that hose that he just brings, and he just brings to all his tents, right? And we're talking and talking, and then all of a sudden I hear him go, "Oh shit!" And I was like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "I just put like a gallon down the hole in my earth box that had the drowsy Lavaca seedling. Like it was just a little baby thing,
Yep.
and apparently I had anticipated that it was just gonna, like, it was gonna be too stagnant. It wasn't going to be able to wick up. You know what I mean? It was going to turn into a disaster. So I was like, "Hey, let's try to get it out." He's like, "Nah, we'll just leave it." And apparently, it's worked out well for him. He said that it's the biggest auto that he's grown, and so it's quite interesting to think of the way we're growing and the way we think that it has to be done. May not always be the case. There's definitely a component of fucking around and finding out. You may get lucky sometimes.
So I actually heard him say that.
It's quite
And
interesting.
when I heard him say that, my Frogception V1 was like this big. And then I immediately went and put a gallon down.
Did you? Yeah. And then what do you
And
think? Do you think it's worked better for you than the last one?
so it's on like what, day 28 right now, and it's definitely the biggest I've had at that day.
Yeah, yeah, it's looking pretty darn good. So
It's getting big.
maybe you're introducing water underneath, in the earth box a little earlier than we had thought wasn't quite as bad.
Yeah. I think for a lot of stuff, everybody has their opinions, and then there actually is like wiggle room. There's like
Yeah,
a certain margin of error on everything, right? And
absolutely.
everyone just prefers their own specific slot. I actually learned this when I first started growing. So before I knew any of you guys, my friend who you guys all knew, but he was teaching me how to grow, and then he said, watch these YouTube channels, listen to Yag, listen to CC. So before I knew any of you, I was like listening to cultivation conversation and actually writing notes in a notebook while I
Oh,
was
no shit.
listening, right? And then
Yeah,
I started listening to Yag, and then I started listening to crafting, and then it hit a point where I had multiple conflicting notes of everything. So I'd be
yeah,
like, oh, cultivation conversation said to do this in episode 50, and then crafting in episode 12 said to do the opposite, and then in episode 14, Yag said to do the opposite.
yeah.
And
It's tough. It's tough to discern what's it definitely is something that I've found with growing cannabis and gardening in general. There's always going to be what people say that has to be done, and then you
yeah.
definitely do fine. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's funny. It's kind of funny to think.
Yeah, so I definitely think there's wiggle room for everything,
Absolutely.
and just finding for me what's most important is making sure that the different variables of my grow, instead of them fitting the optimum level that they should be,
Mhm.
as long as they fit within my lifestyle, like, all right, yeah, maybe my plants will be a few degrees humidity lower than they should be, but that fits with how often I can fill up the humidifier, like
Yeah,
different
no,
things like that.
absolutely.
Where I feel like when I'm personally working the most efficiently is when the plants grow the best, as opposed to when. So I'm obviously always trying to improve my skills, but I try not to grow past what I can do, kind of thing.
Sure. No, no, I got you. And that's and I think also with our grow style, right? We're both pretty much perpetual autoflower growers.
Yep.
So being able, having that, that sacrifice, like you said on your last podcast, there's you're not necessarily optimizing for one stage of the plant or the other. You kind of have to meet them in the middle. And what's a middle ground that we can come on where we're still doing good for the older plants and still doing good for the younger plants. And that's I think that's one thing that I love about the autos is you have that swing where you can run everything in one area and just run one environment. That's why I grow the
Yeah.
way I do, because I can just have that big room and just send it.
And I will say, like for me personally at least, last run when I hit the point where I had two in flower and two seedlings, that was an awesome time in my tent. And those were the two most drastically different life stages you could have. But it was because like I said, my house is very dry.
Yeah.
Seedlings want a lot of humidity. The flowering plants are putting off a lot of humidity and they kind of complement each other only
Yeah.
because my house is so dry all the time. Like, I'm not saying everyone should do that,
Sure. But I mean,
but
no, and that's something
that
that
works for, yeah,
works for
like
you.
my
Exactly.
climate.
Yeah. For you to have one tent and be able to control, just worry about one environment. Um, you're able to just have like that yin and yang. And that's one of those things that I love about the perpetual autoflowers is you can play off of, just like you're saying, you're getting that more mass, so the humidity is coming up a little bit. So makes it a little easier for growing the smaller stage. That's one thing that I definitely struggled with the beginning of this grow was I'm used to having those plants at different ages. So I'm
Yeah.
usually rocking that humidity anywhere from like 50 to 60. But this time I'd say it was around 50, but it was definitely a struggle keeping it exactly where
Yeah.
it should be. So I hear you.
That's where I'm at right now with two. So I have two seedlings, one empty city pecker, and then one in late veg.
Now, how have you found? Well, I guess you got central air, so it doesn't really bother you quite as much. But have you noticed any issues with the heat and humidity that we've been having lately? Is there any more of a struggle controlling it, or you're on easy street?
No, because like so I grow in my basement and I have like an Italian summer basement, I think is what they're called.
Okay,
So I have so like my office right now that we're sitting in is actually a bar. That's why it has like these are like the liquor shelves,
gotcha.
and then the mirror is usually right here.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And then right here is a full living room, and then over there is the kitchen. And our second kitchen, we don't need a second kitchen. So I have all the appliances unplugged and turned off, and then I just
Yeah.
have my tent in the kitchen.
Gotcha.
And the essential air unit is right here.
Oh, okay.
So around my tent is always just mad cold and dry all the time.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for me, man. It has been a struggle. My dehumidifier is running all the time, so in that it's hiking my heat up, man. It's been a battle to keep my heat. I'll let it go up to 83, 85, and be like, okay, it's getting a little bit. I usually like to keep it around 80, 82, but man, it was almost getting up into the 90s
Damn.
this past week, man. And yeah, like humidity going up and no matter what. But I've definitely got to beef the room up. I know I've talked about it, but I got to do something soon. So we'll see.
I have my tent set at the exhaust is always on 1 out of 10.
Okay.
And then I have it set to 84 degrees with a ramping of 2.
Okay.
So it's like always on at 1, and then if it hits 84 degrees, it turns on the 2, and then if it hits 86, it turns on the 3, so on and so
Gotcha.
forth.
Okay. Okay.
And then that way, because I see a lot of people where they're like, and it was even something I did when I first got a tent, is like the tent would just be like normal, and then it would get slightly too hot, and it was just like,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
so you definitely, if you have an AC Infinity and you don't have your port scaling turned on, definitely turn that on.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah. With mine, I guess I don't have to worry about that. So
Yeah.
I've never messed with any of those. Mine just goes from like whenever whenever that heat gets up, it goes from 1 to 10. It's going just sucking it out.
So I'm trying to keep my electricity bill good. So I have like my whole AC controller set up to only use the parts when they're absolutely needed to keep like homeostasis in the tent, basically.
Yeah. They've got a AC Infinity has their setup figured out for sure. They I think they pretty much run the market in um the whole air control for growers these days. Pretty much, they're the top dogs.
Yeah, I use Spider Farmer tents though,
Okay,
because
all right.
I do like those better. I had the AC Infinity tent, that's what I started with, but the Spider Farmer has a lot more like bells and whistles. I guess not. Like the ones I bought from them have like more ports and zippers and little places to put
Yeah,
stuff and little hooks to hang stuff on. And
yeah, and that's important. That's important for sure.
yeah, like Kate, like having a like I run a 4x4 with 4 city pickers in it, so there's no
Love
room
it.
for anything. So like
Yeah.
wire management and cable management has to be perfect all the time.
Hey, I think you got to figure it out though. I've been over there and it looks good, man. You got a good
I
setup.
try to keep it clean. I have like all the wires like going around like different poles depending on what they do and stuff.
Yeah,
Trying to
that's
keep it
awesome.
all.
Hey, that was one thing that I loved when I did. So my room used to have a few different tents, and they'd be lining the walls, and that was one thing that I do enjoy. I'm doing like the wire management, making sure everything looks all pretty, even though you're the only one that sees it. You're like,
Yeah.
look, I want it to look nice,
You also don't want to risk like, oh, a wire falls down on top of your light and gets melted or something.
or you get some water on a power strip and you almost burn down your tent. I mean,
Yeah.
those things do happen. Those things happen. So yeah, I hear you.
So speaking of, there is one thing I want to talk about. So I do have like a whole 2x2 setup, and I was
Okay.
thinking about setting it up, getting a photo, and then just using the 2x2 as the mother plant tent.
Okay.
When my next 4 autos are done, because they should all finish around the same time, I could try to take 4 clones and run 4 of the same plant in the
That
four by
would be
four.
awesome. That would be fucking awesome, dude.
That'd be like a cool little project to try
I
to
would
take on.
I would love to see it, man.
So I've been debating doing that
I
for the
think you
past
should.
couple of weeks.
I love it. I think we've already established you're gonna do it for sure
Yeah.
now. That sounds fun, man. Yeah, well I think I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to him, but if we can get that, if we can secure that Johnny cut of the Hella Jelly,
I know, right?
um, that would be dope, dude. To have four city pickers going with all the same clone, you could scrog the motherfucker out, and
Yeah, that'd be wild, right?
yeah, that would be cool, man.
I have a bunch of photo seeds as well.
Okay,
I do
is
got
it?
some sauce from BGG.
That'd be cool too. You
I've
think
been
you'd
holding
start?
on to those because I wanted to get better at growing before I started growing those. Because
See,
when I first started growing, like the sauce was like the dream strain I wanted to grow.
I've heard good things about it, man. Especially for I know you suffer from migraines and other issues like that.
Exactly.
That's I believe that's something that he worked that is something that works for him and something that works for other people. I think that that would be an awesome grow. I've heard great
Yeah.
things about it, so I say you do it.
Yeah, that's like my goal strain that I'm working towards. I want to be able to grow that well.
Are those fems or regs?
Fems, I believe.
Okay.
I haven't checked. I have it on my spreadsheet.
Gotcha. I'm so used to all of his autos. I mean, of course, that's all I buy, but all of his autos are always regs, so I never know with him.
Yep. So the last thing I wanted to talk about tonight was tolerance breaks. And all right, so on 4th of July, I had like a family and friends party barbecue at my house,
Yeah,
and I was hanging out with some friends and relatives, and they were all saying that they smoke like a half ounce a week. And I'm
okay,
like, that's all right, so that's a lot from me.
sure,
So I'm like, God damn, like why not just take a tolerance break? So as we discussed last episode, like I have pretty low for someone who grows, I feel like I have low THC tolerance because I don't really
it's
smoke a whole lot.
yeah. Hey, if it affects you, if it gets you done, what you got to get, to get to that level, then I say it's good on you for having to smoke less.
Right? So on top of that, earlier this week I was just like combing through YouTube to find other YouTube channels to watch that are cannabis related and trying to find different stuff.
Okay,
And I ran into a bunch of videos about tolerance breaks and whether they're good or whether they're bad. And I've always heard that they were good. So
sure.
I had never heard the counter argument of why they're bad. And I kind of wanted to run this past you and see how you felt about it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
People say that tolerance breaks are good because they reset your tolerance. So like you don't have to smoke a half ounce a week anymore. You can go back to smoking an eighth a week kind of
Sure,
thing. And then also like it's better for your body. Some people will argue because it like, like being on a drug all the time, like you need a time for your body to recalibrate back to base level and then go back.
sure,
I don't know if I believe that or not, but the counter argument is like if you're gonna take a break and then just go back to smoking the same amount you were smoking, all you're doing is giving yourself withdrawal symptoms for 2 weeks or like a week,
sure,
right?
sure.
Yeah, just the whole, especially like if you're talking about cannabis medicinally, like,
Yeah, I mean,
are you
so
depriving yourself medicine?
I'll be honest with you. I don't have much knowledge into it, but from what I understand, when you're taking that tea break, your endocannabinoid system, so like all the receptors that are in your brain, and the chemicals that your body make naturally, right? From my understanding, isn't that when you're feeding it, it's your body stops making it in certain ways, right? So you're able to stimulate
Yeah.
it. Um, so that's my understanding of it. I'll be honest with you. I don't fuck with any of that shit. I just keep smoking whatever I smoke. I do like involuntary tea breaks myself. Like if I have to go somewhere, I just stop for here and there. But yeah, I don't know much about it. I wouldn't be able to tell you a lick of it. But it
Yeah,
definitely seems
that
interesting. It definitely seems interesting. The whole chemistry of our body and how we react to the plant.
I'm right there with you. I don't think I've gone a day without in a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always like if you're traveling somewhere or if you're, you know,
I I think even I mean I some people may benefit from tea breaks and whatnot. Maybe they have it's definitely has to do with your personal body, right? There's people that are even just so sensitive. Like my mother cannot take even like a hit without getting like just severe anxiety. Like I think she just works herself up, or it's just something where it just does not agree with her. And then there's some people where it's like, it seems like they could smoke all day, every day, and not be
yeah.
high. So it's definitely interesting to see how this plant plays off of our own chemistry in our body. So I think it's to
I
each person, is whatever works for you.
Yeah, I personally think it's just a hunch, but that I'm personally sensitive to THC
Sure. Yeah.
because also like I'll do edibles with people and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm kind of high," and then I'm like white knuckled, like
Yeah. No, I mean, so for me too, I mean, like I think I've built up a tolerance for it. But yeah, edibles used to like really get me messed up. Even I wasn't a big smoker back in high school. Like I didn't really start doing this until like getting myself off of alcohol is really when I started consuming cannabis. And
yeah,
it used to really mess me up then, but now I can just eat edible, and they will mess me up, but it definitely takes like 5 milligrams used to put me down and I used to be high, but now I can definitely have more of it. It doesn't do me in as much.
Yeah, it's wild. I'll take the same dose as everybody else, and then I'm just like talking to aliens. Like,
Now, what do you think? Do you notice a big difference between like consuming rosin and flour, or does that pretty much affect you the same that you feel?
so since I started using the nectar collector and making my own rosin, I've enjoyed it a lot more. I used to always hate doing dabs, like when I was over people's houses and shit. But I always think it's because like back when I was doing dabs, they weren't that common. So
Sure.
then people would like give you an extra big one just out of the novelty of it, and then I was
Yeah.
always just wasted for no reason.
Yeah, you get
Like,
you get the big huge glob that you have no business doing more than like half of, and then
yeah,
it's like they've torched it. It's like 600 degrees, and you're just fucking just burning that shit. So, yeah,
yeah.
no, I
For
think
the nectar
once,
collector, I'm like, oh, yeah, wait.
yep, and then you find what temperature works best for you, and just that little sweet spot that you like. You're not just toasting some rosin just to get and ripped.
I even like I was using my nectar collector with someone else last week and they were like, "Oh, you'll have to retorch this." And I was like, "No, I don't." And I like hit it, and even when I hit it, it was still too hot. So I'm like, "What fucking hit did you
Wait,
just take?"
yeah, man, I'm telling you, ugh.
I'm like,
Some of
"What did you just do?" Like
that's
this was
crazy.
too hot and you torched it like 40 seconds ago.
Oh
But
man.
yeah.
Mm-mm. No, sir. No, sir.
All right. Do you have anything else before we wrap up?
I think that's it, man. This is it's been a good one. I will actually be seeing, well, by the time this comes out, I will have already seen you, but I'll be seeing you tomorrow, dude. So, or not tomorrow, Sunday.
Yep.
So we'll I got some stuff for you. So I think that's all I've got, man. You got anything else?
I think I'm good.
All right, man. It's been real.
Yep, yep. All right. Peace.
Catch you later.